All right, it's January 28th, 2024. I'm out here on at the farm, and it is expected to get a lot of rain this coming week. And the bad thing about that is last week or 2 weeks ago, we had a lot of snow in the Olympics. What you see behind me is the Humptulips River, and it is currently measuring about 10 miles upstream of here at 21 feet. In 2022, when we had our flooding, it had peaked the banks and flooded our land, and it damaged our house at 23 feet. So 21 feet today, 23 feet a couple years back. And so I wanted to come out to the riverbank to see what that looks like. And for those family and friends who have been out here to visit the farm and maybe go up on the zip line that's right behind me, up there, this is the exact same place that we will climb down the rope ladder to go have a nice leisurely kayak in the river. Of course, whenever I go out and about, I must have my trusty man's best friend, Maple. She is ready for the wet weather in her nice raincoat. How you doing, Maple? A little concerned? You don't like the river, do you? All right, just another angle of the river. You can hear the water flowing as soon as I stop talking. But we are fortunate that there is a fish hatchery, salmon hatchery upstream. Whoa, look at that log go by. A fish hatchery upstream, which means we also have a river height gauge on the USGS website. And we're able to see both river height as well as river flow rate. And at times like today, it will be probably in the 25,000 cubic feet per second flow rate. Whereas in the summertime, we might be down at 200 cubic feet per second. So just try to picture that volume of water flowing through this river. The Humptulips River is one of the main rivers that's on the south part of the Olympic Peninsula, which is one of the wettest places in the United States, continental United States. And so there are two rivers that handle the south flowing rainfall, and this is one of those. I wanted to quickly show one of the reasons why we love our land and our river. If you see in the background these big giant trees, I'm going to tilt up. Those guys are close to 200 feet. And when you're around such massive trees, it's just magical. Hundreds of years old. On our land, we have spruce, Douglas fir, hemlock, and red cedar as our main evergreen trees. And our only hardwoods we have on our land are red alder. That's all of these trees here. The ones without the leaves are the red alder. All right, so why is our house in danger of flooding? If you can see behind me, that is Ocean Beach Road. There's the ground, there's the road. Ocean Beach Road, whenever the county built it, they built it about the low point about 6 inches. The road's low point is about 6 inches higher than our house's foundation. And the road's high point is about 3 feet higher than its low point, so 2.5 feet higher than our house's foundation. Cars. So, our house is about 1,000 to 1,500 feet from the river, and this road is downstream, and so all the water from the Humptulips, when it floods, hits this road, and the road acts as a dike or a dam or a levee, whatever, and goes. I normally would be able to flow that way, but I can't, and so the only way for it to flow is around our house. So let's go check that out. Here's a better view of the road, so you see the land leading up to the road is very flat, and it's a good 5 to 6 feet below where they raised the road. Now, it makes sense that the county built the road so high because they didn't want the road to flood. But the problem is our house does not appreciate there being a dam there. And there's our house, and as you can see, the house is built up on its own set of fill, but it's not enough. All right, let's get our bearings here. Our house, way back there, that tall tree line, those tall trees, that's where I started with the river running high. All of this area behind me is flat. The road is back there somewhere. I'll show you in a minute. But the road is essentially that direction and the river that direction. And so the only place the water for a few hundred acres from the Humptulips down to where we are can drain is going past our house, zoom, which our house is raised, so it's kind of like a little island, and our driveway forms its own dam on the island. So here's the house. I'm turning 180 degrees. Right back here is a stream, and this stream handles all that water on a flood event. Normally the stream is nice and calm. We get to listen to the frogs, listen to, nature. It's beautiful. But because the stream is here, the county built a nice bridge to go over the stream. You just saw the car go over it. And so right there is the only break in Ocean Beach Road from the river up that the flood water can drain through to. And so our house is between here, the stream, the river, and the stream. So, but as you can see, it's beautiful. We love it. It's peaceful. It's surreal and serene. I mean. So again, here's the house right behind me. You see it's raised. The water comes between like all the flat zones and just floods to this the stream right behind, and goes under the bridge and disturbs our neighbors on the other side of the road. But there's not a lot of people that live over there. So that leaves, what can we do? So 2 years ago when we had the flooding, the family got really close to selling the property. So option one is we sell, and we say we wash our hands of this problem. We also talked to the county, the state, the Department of Ecology. They had brought out some, they call it technical support. They brought out some environmental engineers to give us their rundown. And they had a bunch of ideas, but from like putting eco blocks around the building and stuff like that. But ultimately, the only solution is that we take that house and we raise it up. Yes, we also have flood insurance now and everything like that. But for those who haven't ever used flood insurance, it's terrible. It's expensive. It won't cover all the bills. So it's a risk. it's nice that we have it to supplement if something bad happens. For example, we haven't raised the house, but it's not the solution. So over the last year, we've been working with two different contractors to figure out how best to raise this house. Talking to the Department of Ecology, we don't have a base flood elevation established out here because FEMA scanned, like LiDAR'd, this whole river valley, but they didn't do the processing for establishing like BFEs and stuff like that. So we could get it established, work with the county, and the base flood elevation is essentially that point in which we think it won't flood, and then we need to be above that. But with working with the Department of Ecology, they essentially were like, look, you know how high the road is, and we know, climate change and all these things, that a safe bet would be to go to the height of the road plus a buffer, and for climate change, they're saying about a 3-foot buffer, and so roughly raise the house at least 6 feet. If we're going to raise the house 6 feet, the project's expensive. Adding another 4 feet isn't. And so we'd probably raise it 10 feet and put a garage under there that's made to flood. We were all ready for that to happen, but then 2 weeks ago I got laid off, and so I literally called the contractor when we were just weeks away from starting to get that to happen, and said, hang on, we have to pause this until I can find another job. So we are now left with moments like this upcoming week where we know there's a whole bunch of rain coming, a whole bunch of snow that's going to melt real fast. As you can tell, it's already wet and moist. We already have standing puddle. I don't know if you can see it that well. I'll drive around after this and show you guys some of the standing puddles. But we have a whole bunch of standing puddles, so the ground's saturated. And so we know this is a recipe where this coming week we may have flooding issues. What can I do to prepare? Well, not much really. We have our garden, so I'll probably bring the chickens somewhere else so they don't flood. We have in that tent right there, the white tent, we have a compact tractor. All I can do is bring the tractor, and it does fit in that garage, so we'll put it in the garage, and hope that if it does flood, hopefully it floods below the power plant of the compact tractor. But everything else we'll just kind of leave how it is. For the house, it's not much we can do. I have a couple pumps, 3-inch pumps, 2-inch pumps, that sort of thing. So I might put in the lines under the house. If it's a minor amount of flooding, those pumps are actually good enough to keep the basement dry enough so it doesn't hit our furnace or our insulation. But if it's major flooding, then there's nothing we can do. So we will see what this coming week has, but I just wanted to give everyone kind of a tour of, for those who are curious, of what owning acreage out here close to Humptulips River entails, especially when you didn't know that you're buying into a floodplain because no one's documented it, because no one lives out here. And so here's kind of the rundown of where we are and what we kind of do to make do. And then let's go jump in the UTV and I'll show you some of these standing puddles, which are, if we didn't have the risk of flooding, so much of our field has seasonal flooding, and that's okay. And it's amazing. We get ducks that come out here, all kinds of ducks. We get swans, we get all kinds of animals. And we're actually able to drop the kayaks in and kayak our land, which is just so much fun. We don't want to stop nature. We just want to live harmoniously with it. And I think for that means raising the house. We'll see when we can get that done. But let's go explore some of these standing ponds and see if we can see any ducks or maybe see some of the beauty that's out here. I don't know if you caught it as we were driving up. A couple mallard ducks were in here and we scared them off. So right now, Maple and I are in the middle of what we call, nice and fun. There's the water behind us. We had to drive through it. We call this area Strawberry Fields. It is nice and flat. The water right here is maybe 3 inches deep, which is why I know it's safe in the UTV to drive through. But normally this is as dry and flat as can be. And riding with the kids, this is a section that's so flat that I'm able to go pretty fast with the UTV, and everyone has fun, safe fun. All right, but this is pretty cool. Like yesterday, literally yesterday, none of this water was here, and so just in the amount of rain overnight, this whole area ended up flooding. So that shows kind of how much rain we do get here. I think yesterday, if I remember what the rain gauge said, we had something like 1.6 inches, but that was on top of the 7 inches during the week. And so again, the ground is fully saturated at this point. We have a clay mixture ground, which likes to absorb the water and not prevent any more water from passing through it. It takes a lot of time. And so that's why we get so much surface water. Let's go check out another section. I didn't wear my waders though, so we're not going to go to the section that's where we normally kayak. But let's go see what else we can find. Quickly just have to show these off. I started making these routed and burned signs for around the property. So this is at an intersection. Over there is Mirkwood. I haven't made the Mirkwood sign yet. This big loop is called Beary loop because we have captured black bears on our game cameras on this loop. And that goes around our entire property, which is really cool. But I love having these little signs. All right, that was pretty fun. That section that we just drove through on the video, we call that the zoom zone. It's this nice little dip and the girls really love it, or Matilda and her friends really love it when we go through it. It's again nice and flat, so we get to go fast, but it's really deep, and so I was a little worried with the UTV going through that one. We definitely had some water on the floor. I'm hoping as we walk over here, we have a section that we call Marsh Trail or whatever, because there is seasonal flooding. And I'm hoping we can actually see it. But again, I didn't bring my waders, otherwise I'd wade out there. So let's see how far I can get without flooding my boots. There we go. Oh yeah, here we go. All right. I will flip the camera around here in a second. But you see out here, like it's just water, so much water. That gets deep. That gets up to my chest. So like if MJ was out here, she would fill up her waders. But that gets deep down there. So when it's raining like this, we won't be able to use a big chunk of our trails. But this is where we drop in the kayaks, and we can kayak all throughout that trail, and then we go around and through and all over that pasture. Sorry, not pasture, but all amongst those little trees and stuff like that. It's really fun. But this kind of, again, shows how much standing water we have because the ground's saturated. But I was hoping we would be able to see some birds down here. Like I said, we sometimes get swans. I just heard a duck and ducks and stuff like that. So let me flip around to the other camera and show you a little bit more. I just really quick wanted to show you one of our signs one last time. So this is the other end of Beary Loop. So the other side sign I showed you earlier was kind of the start, and it goes all the way around the property. We cannot take Beary Loop in situations like this. That marsh area goes right through it, like the Beary Loop trail goes right through it. And so, yeah, we don't take that with the UTV. We will definitely get stuck. But we also don't mind about the weather. Maple's having fun. I'm in good spirits. We will figure it out at some point. So let's just see what this week has. See you, everyone.